Right. Well, welcome everybody. Wednesday night, and we're here. Clark Peterson, Nancy Peterson. Okay, we don't have to put a little qualifier on this, but we lost 115 pounds between the two of us. But the best part of it is we've kept it off. And the exciting thing is that we now continue our health journey to incorporate more exercise.
Mhm.
I want you to know we've been working hard at that. And so it's just kind of increasing your energy level, increasing just your health and for longevity.
Right, right. And I think one of the applications I was missing when after 5 years is understanding on how to increase my activity and still maintain the eatings, meals a day or 6 meals a day and keeping that going on. And so I'm learning a really new thing, mindset, and also practice that can help me sustain and probably increase some of my calorie intake and still maintain what I want to be at. So
Yeah, and
it's a learning
actually,
curve.
Clark is at a lower weight than
Yeah, I
almost
never
ever.
did. I never did reach my BMI. I started getting kind of weirdo. I mean, I was losing a lot, so I pulled back and maintained. Then I gained some. Well, right now I'm at the lowest I've been, and I feel the best I've been. And so the key was that transitioning correctly, and I think I was transitioning too late. So I'm just learning as a coach too that you need to start transitioning about 10 to 15 pounds out from your BMI and start incorporating that. And what it will do is give you more options, but it also strengthen your body and it'll have your body burning more calories. And I think it makes everything work well
Yeah,
together. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because the habits of eating 6 times a day, small nutritious portions, and hydrating correctly are habits that you really learn in the 5-in-1, right?
Mm, yeah.
And the way we've been doing it is when you hit the BMI weight or whatever weight it is you're going for, then we transition you and we start encouraging you to exercise. Well, now where we're going, which I think is really smart and what Clark's talking about, is when you're anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds from where you want to be, then we're going to change it up a bit and we're going to make sure you've got exercise, although all of you are doing that now, which is you'll be ahead of the
Mhm.
game, right? Because you want that to be a habit,
Right.
just like you're eating 6 times a day in your water, right? So it's just like if you don't take that walk or whatever exercise, ride your bike, whatever, you're going to miss it because it doesn't feel right because that's what you've been doing, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk about sleep, and who would know sleep is so interesting. I mean, I was like, really? So anyway, I want to start with just reading a couple sentences that Dr. A wrote that I was like, I can't paraphrase this. I just need to read it to you guys. It says, as a key physiological drive, the urge to sleep, much like hunger and thirst, plays an essential role in creating health and well-being. We are designed to live a third of our life in a state of unconsciousness. And I don't mean just zoning out. And yet, modern life has reduced sleep for most into a luxury, which fits into the cracks of our overcomplicated lives. I mean, really.
So sleep is not a luxury.
It's not a luxury. It is absolutely a necessity. And I know some people struggle with it more than others, but there are things that we're going to learn tonight that whether that is an issue for you or not, these are really good things to incorporate if you haven't already done them. Okay. So they did a study. I don't want to gross you out, but they did a
But we're
study,
going
but we're
to,
going to. So, so
disclaimer.
really, I read this and I was like, oh my gosh. All right. So they did the scientific study with rats, and they took these rats and they stimulated them in such a way that they did not let them sleep because they wanted to see the result of it, okay? Within a month, all of them died.
They ate, they drank, they did everything else was normal,
Yeah.
except they did not were not allowed to sleep.
Now, I mean, poor rats. That was a terrible thing. But anyway, the whole point of that is to tell you that we absolutely need sleep. We absolutely need sleep. And if we don't have it, it can affect a lot of things. So think of it this way. When you get good quality sleep, and we're going to talk about that, and you get the right amount of sleep, what it does is it actually improves your immune system. Okay. So if you have autoimmune issues or whatever, I mean, this is just going to help you if you get the right amount of sleep, right? It helps with proper hormonal balance. Now, who would have thought of that? I mean, I never would think that, but I guess when you sleep, your body regenerates, it has it work effectively, right? It helps, of course, we know this, it helps emotional and mental health because I don't know about you, but when my babies were small and I didn't get my sleep at night, yeah, mental
Were
breakdown.
you crabby?
It was worse than that. It's worse than crappy. Okay. It affects your learning and your memory, which I don't know about you. If I don't get a good night's sleep, man, sometimes it's hard, right? It's hard to even stay focused on anything. And this was something too. I've never heard this. It helps to clear toxins from your brain. So I don't understand all of it, but when you sleep, somehow the blood or something must circulate or something happens that you actually clear toxins from your brain.
Well, you
So,
probably stop secreting some of those
oh,
and you go into a rest and then your body cleanses it.
cleanses it.
Probably.
That's
That'd be my guess.
You're so smart.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that'd be my
So
guess.
we're going to make that up. Okay. So,
Dr.
but
Peters.
overall, no matter what, okay, we know that in order to really be experience optimal health, we have got to have a good night's sleep. So studies have shown people that do not sleep well have a much higher risk of obesity than people that sleep well. So it absolutely affects you in that area too. So let me ask you, how much sleep do you think you need? You can answer.
6 hours.
6 hours?
Between
Any
7 to 9 hours.
7 to 9? Betty, what do you think?
6 hours.
6 hours. Okay. So what science shows is that you need at least 8 hours.
Wow.
Seems like a luxury, doesn't it? But they say if you can average between 7.5 to 9 hours, that's what your goal should be. And I know sometimes for me, I think, if you're really busy, you've got events at night or whatever, right? You got to get up in the morning, if you got to go to work or whatever your demands are on yourself, you think, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get that much sleep? But here's another question for you. So are you an owl or are you a lark? So are you a night owl or are you a morning lark?
I said I was an Olar, so I was both.
What about you guys? Are you the night owl or the morning person?
Night owl.
Night owl. Okay. How about you, Lisa?
I'm a morning lark. I like to wake up early, but I do not sleep well at night. So I'm tired in the mornings.
Sure.
And part
Okay.
of the reason I'm going to say is sometimes I forget to turn on my phone to do not disturb mode, my mobile phone. And like last night, somebody texted at 1:30 in the morning. Like I always tell people, please be considerate when you call or text. Don't call or text after 9 because there are reasons why people don't put the do not disturb on. But you
There's
know what? Not
reasons why
everybody
people
thinks
sleep.
that. Yeah.
So if you put a do not disturb on your phone and somebody texts you, does it still bing? Does it still go off?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay,
So I
okay.
used to keep my phone on when I, was helping to take care of my mom, and it was really important to always be accessible. And also my work when I was working. So there's reasons to not put the do not disturb on. My work was 24-hour on call.
Mm,
But now I don't have
yeah.
those excuses, so I have to try and remember to put the do not disturb.
You need a cue to remind yourself, whether it's a little note on your bed, your nightstand or whatever it is, because you're right that and so when it wakes you up, then you
I
can't
woke
get
up at
back to sleep.
1:30 with that text. I did not respond to it, but I was up watching Korean soap dramas or Korean dramas until 4 this morning. And then I
Were,
went to sleep.
were you going to say something, Betty?
Yes, on mine, I have it on schedule. So it's silent from this time to this time.
Oh, good
Oh,
idea.
don't forget to
Yeah.
turn do not disturb on, so it just
So
disturbs time. But
that's a good idea.
for any family, like Joan, my daughter, my mom, my brother, those when emergency come through. That's the
Oh,
only
that's a
people
good idea. I'm going to have to learn how to do that.
Yeah, I gotta learn how to do that.
Yeah,
do that.
because same thing happens to me, Lisa. Somebody will text me, in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh no. Anyway, but you, Sue.
So I'm not a night owl. I'm in bed by 9 or 9:30. Can you hear me or no? Okay.
Yep.
And then,
Yep.
I mean, I get up around 6. I don't like to get up early, but I guess I do get up early. So probably the morning lock.
I think people that have worked a lot of years, just like I can remember not wanting to get up when I was working, but now I'm like, sit right up, because I'm making my own hours. But anyway, okay. So that's just something to keep in mind when we're talking about this, because we're going to talk about morning and evening routines. So, it's like, how do you create a good habit of sleep? It's like that's what we're thinking about, okay? Because like Lisa, you struggle with that. So we have to think about, okay, what is it that we can do that we can create a good habit of sleep? So the first thing you do is, okay, well, if you have to get up or want to get up at a certain time. So now, Lisa, you kind of automatically get up at 6, right? And I do too. Usually I'm up at 5:30 or 6 because my body just wakes up, and I'm a lark too. Um, and I'm like you, Sue. 9 o'clock rolls around, man. I'm just like, yeah, I'm out. But so what Dr. Anderson talks about is, okay, if you either have to get up or want to get up at 6 in the morning, or you just get up at 6 in the morning, you need to count backwards, right? What time you really want to go to bed. And I think it's hard if you don't have like a structured schedule, because you think, oh, I can just stay up and watch Korean soap operas, or or whatever you would do, right? Or for us to paint the house until the middle of the night, I mean, there's all kinds of
Yeah.
things that can distract you. But when you realize that sleep impacts your health as much as it does and your weight, it then changes how you look at it, right? It changes it as a priority versus, like he was saying, maybe kind of even a side note or a luxury because you're busy. You got things to do. You have things to do. That's how I always felt, having things to do. So the first thing you want to do is, if you get up at 6 in the morning, okay, You need, whatever time you get up in the morning, you want to have some kind of morning ritual. Do you guys have that? What does that look like?
I refresh my ice and my water, which is kind of like well, actually, first I slowly stretch because I really like to wake up slow. So I kind of hit that snooze button if I'm sleeping and not watching K-dramas. And
Yeah.
then I stretch and stretch and stretch. And then once I finally get out, I refresh my ice and my water because I have to make ice manually without an ice maker. And then I take my medicine and start a fueling.
Okay. Does anybody get up and just run out the door? No. Okay, that's great. So, whatever your ritual is, that actually helps you because there are certain things in your day you cannot control. Like, for example, if you go to work, you cannot just say, I'm not going to work. Well, I mean, you could, but you might risk your job. But right, you can't control that. You are obligated to go do that. But you can control what time you get up and having that ritual. And by having that ritual, you actually are more productive. Okay. You are more productive in the day. And I have always noticed that when I get up and I run out the door, I'm not nearly put together like if I do my ritual of having my coffee, doing my devotions, and kind of meditating, praying, and then go out the door. Then I'm fine. Okay, so you guys are already ahead of the game. Good job, gold stars. All right. So what's the next thing is, and I never thought of this, an evening ritual. And I was like, what is an evening ritual? Is that like do the dishes and then you watch 3 hours of TV? Or what is an evening ritual, right? When he explained it, I understood why it was so important because it affects your sleep. And let me share with you what he said. He said the first thing you do in your evening ritual, right? And this is like an hour before you go to bed. So, like Sue and I, man, we're in bed at 9 o'clock, right? So, around 8 o'clock, this is what we should be intentionally doing, focusing on finishing any chores or work related things at home so that we feel like we are kind of done with that. And I'm not saying you're like, for example, if you're doing the laundry, you're doing some clothes at night, right? Maybe you don't get the 3 loads done, but finish that one load. Finish that one load, meaning washer, dryer, folded, put away. All right, you still have 2 loads, but you have completed that one thing, right? And did you want to share something about that? We talked about that.
What was it I was going to share? I should have wrote it down.
Are you missing clarity?
Yeah, I'm missing clarity. Not enough sleep.
Enough
Not enough
sleep.
sleep.
All right. So it's finishing the chore, work-related
Oh,
tasks.
I know what it was.
What? Go ahead.
Yeah, but I think it's the next point though.
Okay. Okay. Another thing is resolving any family issues. So can you see what he's doing here? What he's trying to do is get you to put closure on those things for the day so that you can say, okay, I'm not saying you're getting everything done. It's like laundry, you never finish it. But you're saying you're getting these things done, you got them done. Now you're going to bed. It's almost like a calming thing. And then with family issues, okay, so say, I don't know, you had a fight with your son or daughter, or you
Well,
whatever.
let's just not talk about fighting. Let's
Okay.
just talk about let's just talk about that we have a plan. Like, so before Nancy and I go to bed, we always talk about what we're going to
Mhm.
do the next day.
Sure.
Before we go, we always talk about, okay, what's our day going to be like tomorrow? And so that we talk about that, we write some things down, we get it on, and then when we go to bed, it's not racing around our head. And we understand because we're living that out throughout the day, have to get this thing. So we plan the next day by talking about it and what we're going to do. So that calms our mind.
Yeah, because you basically have written it down. You're not going to think about it till the morning and you've got it all set. But even if there is trouble, I mean, because let's face it, in this life, we will have trouble, right? And something's happened that is upsetting to you because for me, that can affect my sleep,
Hmm.
right? If my heart hurts or I'm worried about something, that affects my sleep. And so what he says about that is you can't necessarily work it out, but I know it's going to sound funny, but if you're a person of faith, you can say, okay, you're going to give it to God and you're going to say, you know what? Tomorrow morning, his mercies are new. Tomorrow morning, things can change and I'm going to trust him. But there is that being intentional about taking what that is that's weighing on you and doing something with it, closure on it for that evening.
Mm.
I thought that was huge because that is not how we normally operate. We normally just say, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed. You get into bed and sometimes you toss and turn. Why do you toss and turn? Because you've got all these things that have been, going in your head that either haven't been done and they're leftover problems or whatever they are. So that's the first thing he says to do is just an hour before, get in the habit of just saying, okay, I'm going to finish up. Like one thing too we do is we make sure the dishes are done. Because I don't like in the morning, we don't want to get up and there's dishes all over, right? So there's that. There's like a complete.
Yeah. So what we did too, so we've been working on remodeling our house, and so we tear a whole room. Dave and Betty helped us do this too, but we tear a whole room apart and paint it. But but what? And I'm not very. Nancy's really good at this. We put the room all back together before we went to bed. Everything was put back. The tape was pulled off the wall. The pictures were hung, the things were put back, and the room was back in order before we went to bed.
No, not the whole house, guys.
No, but that room.
Just that room. But do you see what I'm saying? That made us be able to go to bed and go, okay, we're done with that room. And we didn't. So anyway, that's something to be pointing out. The next thing is this: at 8 o'clock at night, if you're going to bed at 9, you want to start to make sure that your lighting is not a bunch of overhead lighting or fluorescent lighting or whatever. You want to kind of make sure your lighting is dimmer because it does do something to your brain, right? And this is a suggestion. They even said, okay, if you have trouble sleeping, put on some soft music for that hour or that half hour. Maybe that's what you do as you're getting on your pajamas and washing your face and brushing your teeth. You've got kind of soothing music on. I do that quite often when I'm doing things. I'll have my phone and I'll put in music for that. So there is something about that music too that kind of lowers I don't want to call it anxiety, but just your whole demeanor kind of gets down. And I had to share one experience of this. So when I was working in Hawaii, Lisa knows. So when I was working in Hawaii, when I read this today, I thought of what I used to do. But when I get in my car to go to work, I would have some rockin' music on. I would be like, get work, you're getting all energized and you're ready, right? You're ready for the day. But every day when I came home from work, could not tolerate that music.
Mm.
I was exhausted from working long days. I was mentally exhausted, not so much physically, but mentally exhausted. So what I would put on was either some like classical music, or I would put on some talk radio that was just, very mellow talk radio. So when I read this, I was like, it makes all the sense. If we put on something really jazzed up, right? It's kind of gets you moving, which is you don't want to do when you're trying to go to sleep at night. So something to keep in mind, right? So, let's see, page, where is it?
290.
390. Okay.
Yes, I got it.
Oh
right
yeah.
here.
So I just I'm just going to read this to you real quick because I read, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. So on page 390 in the life book, if you do have a life book, Dr. Anderson writes out what his evening ritual is. And I don't know if can you read,
Yeah.
just read, it's just, it's too,
1 hour before, all pets and children are asleep.
that's,
I don't know how that all works, but anyway, run a hot bath with salt or a shower. Thermostat is set below 68. Clean up any clutter. All blue light is off.
so that would be
TV,
TV,
computer,
computers,
Bluetooth,
phone,
and
yeah.
phone. Take your medications. Avoid any additional water intake other than a cup of tea. That's 1 hour before. 30 minutes before, out of bath or shower, wear loose-fitting, lightweight clothes. Self-care like teeth and brushed and flossed. The cool down starts, and place chamomile, jasmine, lavender on
Oil on your pillow.
oils on your pillow sheet. So
I know.
Sounds like a
Very
spa.
It'd be like living at a spa.
yeah. 15 minutes before, a last minute entry into your life book or journal.
Because, okay, wait a minute. Before you go, did you hear that? An entry into your life book or journal. To me, that's part of, I don't do it. I just want you to know I don't. I probably should, but I can see the reason for doing it. Because right before you go to sleep, basically what you're doing is you're putting closure on the day,
Mm.
right? You're like emptying yourself onto paper, what happened that day, so that it comes off of your mind. So anyway, go ahead.
So then it's okay, reading with blue lights,
Glasses.
suppression glasses, a few minutes of prayer or meditation, deep breathing, having gratitude, have the room cold, dark, and quiet, and have some sleep time tea. Then when you're in bed, use the restroom, then get into bed. Pillows and sheets are organized. Prayer, flip the switch, cuddle your partner. Cuddle, partner massage, or foot rub.
Yeah, that would be nice. What?
I'm all down for that. Head on the pillow, say I love you to your partner, hug and good night kiss, and mind is shut off.
So the whole thing is, it's really, we talk a lot about closure on things. You have an issue in your life or whatever, and it's like, how we talk about we want to put closure on it. It's kind of the same concept. We want to just close out the day. And I don't know about you, but often I'll lay there and just feel gratitude for what was accomplished. And try not to think about what wasn't accomplished, but really just be thankful and be thankful for wherever God has us, right? Wherever God has us, we're going to be content wherever that is. So, all right. So I'm going to ask, do you have things affecting your sleep? And Lisa, I know you do. So, what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting your sleep? And what are some of the things that are affecting in that, what do you think it is that really affects you? Is it just medical stuff or what?
What was your question, Nancy?
The question is, Lisa struggles with the sleep. And so I'm just wondering if there aren't things, I mean, he talks about if you do struggle, are you having caffeine before you go to bed? Um, are you exercising in the evening? That's something that he talks about. It affects some people, not all people, right? Too much light in the room, anxiety or a racing mind. So these are just things that if, what else? Alcohol, a big meal at night, blue lights, noisy bedroom, and oh,
Inconsistent.
and this is an interesting one. Inconsistent bedtime. So there is a lot to be said for your body to be used to going. Like for me, at 9 o'clock, between 9 and 10, my body's already saying, and my mind, it's time for bed. It's time for bed.
Here's a big one that I never thought of, but I've been guilty of. Do not see the value of sleep.
Yeah, sometimes you don't put the value of how important it is to get that sleep, right? So,
And then they're not having purpose in your life.
mhm. So anyway, those are things to think about. But I think if we initiate the ritual in the evening, that that actually should support better sleep at night. So, I mean, we all talk about our ritual in the morning, but we don't talk about that evening one. So anyway, we're going to be starting to do that because I think it's such a, maybe expand on what we're already doing. So there's more. Oh, there's more. So some nights you just don't get good night's sleep. You just don't. Maybe
No matter what you
no
do.
matter what you do. So maybe you didn't feel good. Maybe you just really couldn't get that worry out of your head. Maybe you had a call in the middle of the night from someone. Maybe you get woke up like,
Your pets bark all
your pet barks all night. It could be a lot of things, right? So what he says is that that can happen. You just deal. So he said that's not your fate, meaning there's something you can do to help yourself during the day so that you can restore some of your energy. Because basically, when you don't get your sleep, it affects your energy level the next day. So, you know how they talk about REM sleep, right? That you have cycles in your sleep, cycles in your sleep. Well, this is something I learned that we actually have cycles in our day. And it's called, I know it's called ultradian. And I never heard that before. Ultradian. So these are cycles during your waking hours. And so what he says is that there are 90-minute cycles, basically. So you can be, if for some reason your energy level is low, what can happen is you can really take a pretty good dip, every once in a while, and whatever that cycle is, right? And he's like, well, what do you do about it? That's the question. And he recommends two different things. He recommends either a passive or active rest. And I had never heard this before. So basically, it's this: a passive rest is either that power nap, right? So I can remember my first job. I was working at a bank. I was just out of school, and they had a ladies' lounge in the bank that had couches. And literally at lunchtime, I would go lay down on the couch and take a 10-minute nap. And then I felt great. And I don't know why I didn't oversleep, but I didn't. Anyway, 10 minutes because they didn't have cell phones back then. And so Anyway, that is a power nap. So, and he says a power nap really is somewhere between 6 minutes to 20 minutes. Okay. If you go longer than that, you get groggy. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've experienced that, right? You wake up in 30 minutes and you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, you just like, I got hit by a bus. You know. So you can do a power nap, and this is passive, right? Power nap or what's called a REM nap. So you know how you have REM cycles at night. So a REM nap basically is like an hour and a half. It's like 90 minutes. It's what I do on Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoons are time to take a REM nap. You just, and basically what happens when you do that, and I loved the description of it. When you are able to do a REM nap, what it does is it basically restores that sleep which got taken away. It really restores it. So you could, because if you don't do that, right, you kind of lose that. So anyway, when you can, you take a REM nap. But then he recommends, okay, so say you're working 8 hours, you can't just go take a REM nap. You probably can't even take a power nap. You know, most places don't offer that. Um, but wouldn't that be nice? Um, but he said you can do what's called an active rest. So basically, you're in your activity of the day. He said you can do one of these four things or a combination of them if you're feeling really low. Okay. So, one, physically, okay, you can do something physical. You can do some deep breathing and some stretching. So I don't know about you, but that's happened to me where I just feel really exhausted. So you get up and take a couple of deep breaths, and then you do this, right? You stretch. Okay, you feel a little better. Okay, right? And you can, or sometimes you can just walk a little bit. You feel a little more energized. Or mentally, you can meditate and just be thinking about gratitude, kind of like a restoring of your mind. Okay, to try to get you through it. Or if you get energy from being with friends or family, that's another option, or coworkers. I don't know. And then spiritually, you could pray. Please, Lord, get me through this day. Just because I'm exhausted, right? That's like a desperate prayer. But so he recommends those for the times where you just can't do the power nap but at least it gives you something. I think if you move around a little bit, it helps, you know. Like even if you took little, don't you feel better when you go out for a walk?
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes you dread going because you just are feeling like a
Mhm.
lazy, right? But you just once you get out there, you're like, glad I did this. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. So 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 what he's trying to do is have you optimize the things you can control about your sleep in your day. Because we know that the value of sleep is huge. It impacts you. It's not just that you feel better. Okay, it's that for your health, it's health wise better. So, what is it that you think you could work on this week that might be helpful?
Can I read this one thing?
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's
So
told one more thing.
it talks about in the book on page 400 that during the day we move from a high alert lower, so our alertness decreases. And when we need to rest, there's certain things that happen that our body does, which I thought this was intriguing. It signals us when we need to rest. With hunger, if you're hungry, you might need to rest.
Mm.
Drowsiness, well, that's a no-brainer. Fatigue, or and fatigue, fidgety. If you get fidgety, that's a sign. Or loss of focus. All those are signals that your body needs rest. And sometimes I just ignore those and just
Yes,
push through
so
them.
I'm going to share a secret with you. We were driving one day, Clark and I noticed that it was like kept wanting to, and I think we were on a trip, and
Coming
he
home.
kept wanting to eat. We had some nuts for a snack, and he was just like, I could see him. He was just like grabbing, like, and I could tell. So I turned to him and I said, "Are you tired?"
And I lied.
He's like,
I said no. And then I said, yes, I am. I'm tired.
and that's exactly why he was, and that happens to me too. I don't know if it happens to you, but if I'm really tired, I'm not hungry, I'm tired, I will want to eat something because that is a normal function of your body. It's saying, I need energy, and it knows it can get energy from food, right? But what it really needs
Is rest.
is rest.
So that brings us right into the next phrase of this paragraph, because what we generally do is override our body's need of rest. And we, with caffeine, with food, with high sugar, how many can relate to that one? Or very simple high glycemic carbs. We carve out. And then our bodies, so we override the need for sleep and inject stuff in our bodies.
Yeah, you should share about when you were losing. So you're 70
Oh,
pounds. Yeah,
so
this is
so
good.
I didn't even know this was the right thing to do, but I was doing it. So when I got home from work, so I'd work from get up at 5 in the morning, and I'd start work at 6:30, and I'd work until 5 to 7 at night, and then I'd drive home, and I would eat my lean and green. And what I ended up doing then is I would go to bed. I'd eat my lean and green, watch a little and then I would just go to bed. Um, and I didn't know that I was trying to not be tempted to eat food. But what I was doing is that I was giving my body the rest it needed.
Yeah, he was exhausted.
Yeah.
Like he was exhausted. So when he came home from work and he's watching TV, he wanted to eat. Why? Because he was exhausted. So he chose to go to bed without eating. And, he lost his 70 pounds. But do you see how I mean, if you've put in a really full day and you're sitting there watching TV, you think you might be hungry. The reality is you're not really hungry.
Tired.
You're tired.
Mm.
And so your body wants to go to sleep. And we don't always do that. We don't identify it. We instead think we're hungry.
In the past, I would give my body ice cream and
Yeah.
potato chips.
So I hopefully that gives you something to think about this week.
Mm.
So those morning rituals, evening rituals, and trying to be sensitive and identify when your body really is tired and what you can do depending on where you're at to try to support getting that rest. All right.
Now you
Sounds
can ask the
good.
question.
Oh, now I'm going to ask you a question. What will you work on this week for that,
For sleep.
for sleep?
For me, it's getting rid of my cell phone
That's a
because
good one.
that's the last thing I do before I go to sleep is put my cell phone on the charger. I'm on it. So yeah, but that's how I relax. But it's the lights. And I've heard that before. It's not the first time I've heard that the lights do something to your mind. So
Yeah, get rid of those distractions. That's the same thing for me. And one of them is the cell phone and the other is the TV. But so maybe instead of watching TV, maybe put the music on. I don't know. Um, I don't know. And maybe not that drinking the water an hour before not going to bed, that's tough for me because I get leg cramps if I don't drink water. And so I kind of have to drink water. I feel almost all the way to the end. But then my bladder wakes me up all the way every night. So I don't know,
Well,
it's kind of catch 22.
Oh,
Right.
Gotta work on that. Yeah. But good
well,
tips.
that's good, Lisa. Shannon just put in the chat. I don't know if you all saw that, but he really identified with when she's tired, reaching for food for energy.
Yeah.
Whether it's, and usually, like she said, candy or something. I did that too, where it's like you want to give yourself that like burst of energy, but it doesn't last.
Yeah.
How about you, Betty?
I do know my body tells me I'm tired, usually around 9 o'clock. But at that time, I'm struggling trying to catch up on my Facebook and catch up on my reading. It's just by the time I fall asleep at the table. I wake up, okay, I gotta go. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of probably learn, instead of trying to read at night, just do it in the morning. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's almost it's a better, if you can do it, it's a better thing to actually decide you're going to wake up a little bit earlier and do those things in the morning, because that sleep is really important to you. And then at least it's off your plate, right? For the rest of the day. Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, we learned a lot from this one. I mean, we do every week, but this one kind of hit home too. And next week, oh, it's going to be really good. So I peeked into element 20. So it's about inflammation. It
Hmm.
might blow your mind. So, okay, well, you guys have a great week. I'll be talking to most of
Yeah.
you tomorrow. And if you have questions, of course, always reach out.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. You take care. Bye.